This video is brought to you by VolunteerAudio.com, your #1 source for all things Harley Davidson audio. From individual radios, speakers, and amps to complete plug-and-play amp and speaker systems, we've got you covered. And once you've ordered your package from Volunteer Audio, it includes lifetime tech support. And we have the very best step-by-step installation video so you can install it yourself and save money. All right, so first thing, look in your bag, make sure it's been emptied out, because as we cut and debris falls in there, we don't want it to get on belongings. We don't want to accidentally cut something that we forgot in the bag. And we'll vacuum that out when we're done. So we're going to take some just painter's tape. We're going to tape off the top of our lid. Now understand, my future plan is to change these bags, to change these lids. We'll transfer these at that point. But for now, we're going to go ahead and get us some audio playing. This is an audio company, and first step's always to make it sound good. We can easily transfer these speakers to another set of lids later. Now, if you have that plan, as you cut these in, just save your templates. You can always lay it over it later. Use your Sharpie, mark out where you're going to cut it, and cut the new lid with your existing templates. Just don't throw them away. A lot of guys are looking for templates because they think once they've used them, they're no good anymore, but as long as you don't throw them away, you're good. We're just going to protect kind of anything that might accidentally get scratched while we do this. Anywhere that the template touches is mainly what we're taping off, so it doesn't vibrate around and leave any marks. We're going to throw our template on it, make sure we've taped enough. Looks like we've taped plenty. Let's grab our screws and get that secured down. All right, so if you look in the hardware that comes with your cut kits, you're going to see 2 shiny screws. They're going to be a self-tapping kind of sharp tip on them. Those hold your template to your bag. You only get 2 because when you're done with this one, just take them out and use them for the other side. These aren't something that's going to stay in, they just temporarily hold it. So screw those in. Let me grab a drill bit and we'll drill our starter holes. All right, so I normally just drill a 5/16 hole. You'll see it's got these little round areas for you to do that. I do one at the top and one at the bottom because it's hard to make those 90s with your saw. So we cut part up here, then we cut the other part at the bottom through these starter holes. Like I say, 5/16 bit, just something big enough that will get your saw blade in without going outside of the lines. All right, there are many ways you can cut this. This is definitely not the only way. This is my preferred way. I like the control I get from this. This is a Milwaukee hacksaw. It's just a one-handed sawzall, so it's easy to hold. And then we buy these special blades. They're available. It's just this short scroll cut or jigsaw style blade, but it's meant to go into a sawzall. You could also use a jigsaw. You could use a rotozip. There's definitely other ways you can do it. I feel this is the best way for us. We got a very short blade, so we don't have to worry about it penetrate anything underneath. But let's get it cut. I'm going to start up here. I'm going to go around this corner and down, followed back to this part. I just stop at each one of the 90s. I don't want to try to make that with my saw, and then I'll come in the bottom and finish it up. Now make sure, if you notice, this is a pretty wide line. On this kit, we always cut the very outside of that line. All right, we'll go back the other way. All right, so we got our top part done. Let's cut the bottom. All right, we've cut all the way through. Again, we're going to remove these 2 screws. We'll reuse those to secure our other side. All right, so now you see we've cut it out. We followed that outside line. If we were to keep this template, we could throw this right over another set of bags, mark that out with a marker, take it off. We could cut it. We don't have to have a bunch of these. They're not, I mean, they are one-time use as far as cutting through it, but definitely you can save it, and later you may use it to do a different type of lid if you ever replace it. All right, so we're gonna get our tape off. I'm gonna vacuum up this mess and we'll get some assembly going together here. All right, so I went ahead and cut both lids out. We've removed our tape, we've vacuumed up our mess. So now we have this nice hole. We just double check that our grill fits there well. Looks like it fits great. These are the ones we've relogoed with Hertz logos. Now you could, if you want to make sure these are extra watertight, these have a great gasket on them, but you could put a bead of silicone on the underside here. I've gotten where I don't silicone the top of it in because some of these are denim paints, and if I show you doing that and then you do it, you get silicone on the denim, it makes it look shiny. Let's drop this in from the back side. All right, so these are going to fit right in like so. Very, very nice design that fits perfectly in that factory location. We're going to take our other grill from the other side, put it where it goes on the back side. Now you're going to have 4 little screws that do not have a large wafer-shaped head. These are more of a button type screw. The 4 button screws are the ones that actually hold the inner part to the outer grill. We always start all 4 screws before we tighten any of them all the way down. Now always visibly look at the gaskets on both sides. Make sure they're lined up right. Normally they are, but you definitely need to, as the installer, you need to verify all of this is right before you just screw it together. And then we're going to add an additional gasket to our Hertz speaker we're putting in. I'll show you that and how that works here in a few minutes. See if I can get this screw to line up. We'll start the other side first. A lot of times that helps. If one doesn't line up, just move on to the next one. Get it pulled in some. As I pulled that in, it actually lined the other one up better. All right, so now all my screws are started. I'm going to go ahead and tighten all 4 of them. Now don't go crazy. This is plastic, so get them tight, but don't go so tight that you try to strip the plastic out. There's just no need for it. They will somewhat bottom out, and you'll feel that extra tension just stop there. All right. Now let's just look at it. I think it looks good. I love the black grill on the white paint. Looks really good, but it looks good with a lot of different colors. So now let's get our speaker mounted up, and I'll show you the extra gasket that we apply to it. All right, so Hertz SX690 Neos. We're gonna put these in this bike. I want them to be as watertight as possible. The woofers are actually water sealed with a nice gasket around the middle of the tweeter pole piece. Now, the outside of this, though, has no gasket, and it doesn't line up perfect with a Precision Power cut kit. It just doesn't do it. It's not going to seal without adding an additional gasket of some sort. Now, when you buy this from Volunteer Audio, we try to make sure you get everything you need. So one thing we're now including is this gasket material. It pulls into 2 parts, 1 per speaker. It's just a D-shaped rubber gasket, and I'll show you what we do with it and how we put it on. So I always go to the side with our terminals, and I'll start on that side of the speaker because that's going to be our highest point of our speaker. All right, so just start here on the speaker terminal end with this gasket. We're just going to self-stick it right on the outside of that factory surround. So now it's going to look like there's 2 humped up surrounds here. We're going to pull it just right to the edge of it and stick it in place. It is self-stick on the back side, so this is not a hard task. This is just going to give us an extra layer of gasket. Now there's a future cut kit coming from Hertz. It's not available yet, but when they come out with one, it'll have its own gasket included. So if you're watching this in the future and the new Hertz cut kits have come out and that's what you have, it will mate right up to it. We've already seen prototypes of it. I actually have some that we've tested and coming very, very soon. But it'll have a little different outline. Love the Precision Power cut kits though. They're very strong. They go on very well. So you're going to run this around, cut this to proper length. Just kind of butt these up to each other. And as this tightens down, all of this is going to squish in tight. It's going to keep us from getting any water, hopefully, in our bags. I know I try my best not to get out in the rain. We're very much so fair weather riders. Some of you guys are crazy and you ride in the rain for days. So this gasket's included to try to keep water out of your bags. So let's go ahead and put this on the bike. Let me show you how that part works. All right, so you're going to get some screws with this larger flanged head on them that come with the cut kit. We're going to use those. These are included. And the hardest screw to start is always this one that's hardest to see. So we're going to start on this inside screw first, line it up with the hole in the cut kit, and I'm just going to start it just a couple turns. I'm not going to go tight because we need to start the rest of our screws. Now again, this cut kit is designed for Precision Power speakers, not Hertz speakers. So I'm going to give you some tips here that hopefully will make this a little easier on you. So I'm going to start my second screw in. Again, not tightening it up, just starting it. So we're back to where started. Now I'm going to line up this front screw hole. I'm going to start it a couple turns. This could be a little tricky. Again, none of them are tightened yet. We're just getting them started. And you got to lift this speaker out, kind of push that direction to get it to line up. All right, so I've got that one started. So here's the tricky part. So a lot of you guys call me, they say, hey, this speaker doesn't work, it doesn't line up, because this flange on the speaker overhangs the inside of the cut kit. It's a very, very simple solution. I'm going to grab one of our panel removal tools, but you could also use just a small screwdriver. Put something in here, pry that speaker just a little bit. This is plastic. That is going to drop right down in like that. So once that's in place and it's fell in, now we can start this screw. Once we have it started, we'll go back and we'll tighten all of them up. So I make this look really easy. I've done it a whole lot. It's not really hard, but I make it look a little easier than it probably will be your first time. That's why I'm going through each one of these steps and the order in which I do it, because by doing it over and over, I found the easiest way to do it. So now I'm tightening up my two screws toward the middle. As I tighten this up, it's squishing that butyl rubber gasket down. It's sealing everything really nice. And this is just pulling that speaker inside of that plastic cut kit. It just flexes it just enough that it goes in place. As you see, we haven't distorted, warped, or bent our speaker flange. And you know, you can just tighten this down and it would just bend this edge and it would still work just fine. But that little bit of step of a small screwdriver or pry tool and it fits right in place. Speaker's installed. I'm going to do that again on the other side and we'll catch back up here in a minute doing wiring. All right, so I got my bag off. I'm going to drill a hole. I go right between where the lock goes and the latch goes, so right in this area here. Now I'm using our, these are made by Metro Saddle Tramp disconnect harnessing. We have another set of disconnects that come from Precision Power. So if we're using the MAA 4.400, you'd get another set, and you're going to find out that it works better to do about where this factory hole is here, because it has a 90-degree hard connector. We got to clear those little side covers that go over our fuse panel. So it would go about where this stock grommet is now. But because we're using the very flexible Metro version, I like to drill it right in about this point. So we're going to go ahead and drill that hole. We can drill it from the inside partially, and then we'll finish it on the outside. This drilled hole is a little over 5/8 of an inch. I'm using a unibit. It's very sharp, so I don't want to go too far, too quick. We're just going into plastic. So I've got both parts drilled there. Now we're doing our left side bag. On the left side, you're going to use your green harnessing. On the right side, you'll use the purple harnessing. They're color coded by EIA color code. So we're going to feed our wires through. They go to our speaker. We're going to pull our grommet in. Normally I try to put the cut portion of the grommet downward, and then we're going to pull it into this hole. This should be a relatively tight fit, because we definitely want it to be watertight. You can use your fingernail or even a small screwdriver and go ahead and just pull that grommet, make sure it overlaps all the way around. I'll grab a little screwdriver and do that because I get tired of breaking my nails. All right, so now that I've got my wiring pulled into the bag, I'm going to put the bag back on the bike, clean this, and get everything secured and vacuum our debris out. All right, so I'm just taking a little rubbing alcohol, isopropyl alcohol on a rag, and I'm just cleaning the inside of the bag, because we're going to put some zip tie holders in here so we can hold our wiring. All right, so you're going to get a total of 6 of these when you buy a kit from Volunteer Audio, 3 per bag. We're going to stick one right up here in the top corner. Our wiring is going to come from here down. We're going to put a couple across the front of the bag. This is just going to be to secure our wiring so that we have a good clean installation inside of here. We're also going to receive inside the cut kit package, you're going to get some zip ties. And they're going to go through that. They're going to be a little smaller. In this case, because it's a police bike and we added all the harnessing, we know that our polarity is going to be correct. So your striped wire is going to go to the negative, positive wire, or your solid wire goes to the positive. Now, if you were using a factory backbone connector, we found that Harley is very inconsistent in how that they wire it. And quite often the polarity is reversed in the rear. So you kind of got to know what you're working with. We highly recommend picking up a polarity checker. They're about $12 to $13, and probably the most common issue we see, people call us, they say, hey, my system doesn't have a lot of bass, and then we get them to get a polarity checker and check it, and we find out that there's 2, if not 3 of their speakers are wired backwards from the other ones, and they don't have any bass. As soon as they get it fixed, it sounds amazing again. If you come here and you let us do the installation, we always use a polarity checker at the end of every single installation. Even though we feel like we do a consistent job of doing it right, we find quite often that Harley's inconsistent in the way they wire. So again, they're about $12, $13 online to pick up a polarity checker. They're well worth purchasing one, so when you're done, you can check, make sure all your speakers are firing the right way. So zip ties in each one of those holders. As you see, we've got a very clean wiring job in and out of this bag. I think it looks really good. I'm going to replicate that on the other side, and then we'll connect our wiring under our seat. All right, so we've got both of our bags. We've got our wiring done. It looks really nice. Now I just want to show you the disconnect setup. So you're going to get this Y with your disconnects. It's color coded. The purple one is going to plug into our purple side bag, which is our right bag. It also says on here that this is your brake side. So that just kind of gives you an indication of where it needs to be. Our green wire is going to say belt side. It's going to plug into our left side bag. So once we have those two plugged in, it's as simple as plugging that in to our backbone connector that runs from the front. Now this is a little long, but we've got plenty of room in front of the battery to take this excess wiring and to zip tie, tuck it down in this hole. And then we're going to secure both of these wires. Depends on how you want to do it. I leave them exposed. I worry about service guys not seeing it. They're going to put a tire on. They're going to put brakes on. Something's going to happen in the future, maybe shocks. They take the bag off and they don't see this. I don't want them to break it. So normally we'll leave this exposed right in here. The seat hides most of it, but the service guy is going to see it to unplug it. So you could also tuck this behind these side panels if you don't want to see it at all, and just make sure you mention it or take it apart so that it doesn't get messed up. But we've seen many times the Harley Tech not see the wiring and destroy it taking the bag off. So we don't want that to happen. I'm going to zip tie around this little frame part in the back on both sides, secure the wiring underneath the bag, and make it where it all looks good and it's out of the way if we've got to do a battery change in the future. So let me get that secured up and we'll hop back here in a minute. All right, so I've taken our wiring, we've just secured it down the frame on each side so it's clear of our battery box. That way in the future if we change a battery, it's not going to be in the way.